Have you ever opened the news and just felt completely overwhelmed by what's going on in the world? Well, today, we're going to change that. We're diving into international relations, and I'm going to give you a powerful new toolkit to make sense of it all.
But first, let's kick things off with a bit of a riddle. What on earth could a simple date night possibly have in common with something as huge and complicated as nuclear disarmament? It sounds crazy, I know, but trust me, the answer is the key to understanding pretty much all of global politics. So, how are we going to solve that riddle? Well, before we can get to the answer, we've got to set the stage. We need to get a handle on what this field, international relations, or IR, as you'll often hear it called, actually is.
Okay, so think of IR as this giant, messy, tangled web of connections. I mean, it's so much more than just, presidents and prime ministers shaking hands. It's about how entire countries, huge global organizations like the UN, the world economy, and even things like culture, all smash into each other. And you've always got history's long shadow hanging over every single move.
Now, when you're looking at all of this, experts tend to see it in one of two ways. The old-school narrow view says, hey, let's just focus on the countries, the states. They're the only ones that really matter. But the more modern broad view recognizes that, it's not just countries calling the shots anymore. There are a whole bunch of other powerful players on the field.
Right. So if it's not just countries running the show, who else is out there? Let's meet the cast of characters, shall we? Let's do a quick who's who of the global stage.
The star of the show, without a doubt, is the state actor. This is just what we call a country. And the key word you've got to remember here is sovereignty. This idea is an absolute game changer. It means there's no world government, there's no global 911 you can call. When it comes to the world stage, every country is basically its own boss.
But of course, it's not a one-person show. There's this huge supporting cast of really powerful non-state actors. You've got IGOs like NATO, where governments team up for security. You've got NGOs like Amnesty International, which are driven by ordinary people, not politicians. And you absolutely cannot forget the giant multinational corporations, the MNCs like Amazon, which, let's be honest, have more money and influence than a lot of countries. All of these guys have a seat at the table.
Okay, so we've got our stage, we've got our players, and now this is where we get to the real drama, the central conflict, the one fundamental puzzle that basically drives every single thing we see in international relations.
And just like that, we're back to date night. I mean, check this out. They both want the same thing, right? They want to spend time together. That's the shared goal, the collective good. But he wants to go to the opera, and she wants to go to a boxing match. So how do you get what you both want when what you each want is pulling you in totally different directions? This, my friends, is the collective goods problem in a nutshell. And you know this feeling, right? It's that classic group project scenario. Everybody wants to get an A, but deep down, a couple of people are kind of hoping they can just, coast a little and still get the same grade. That temptation to free ride is at the absolute heart of so many global problems, from fighting climate change to getting rid of nuclear weapons. And that, right there, is what makes this so incredibly hard in international relations. On a date, you can compromise. In that group project, the teacher can step in and tell people to get to work. But remember sovereignty? Since every country is its own boss, there's no teacher, no parent, no global police force to make everyone cooperate. And that's what makes solving these problems so tricky.
So you're probably thinking, okay, if it's that hard, why isn't the world just a complete mess all the time? And that's a totally fair question. The truth is, over thousands of years, the players on this world stage have come up with three main strategies to try and solve this exact puzzle.
Okay, this slide right here. This is basically the playbook for all of global politics. First up, you've got dominance. It's the simple, kind of brutal idea that one person or one country gets in charge and makes the rules. It can work, for sure, but it almost always leads to resentment. Then you've got reciprocity. This is your classic, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But, and this is a big but, it can also turn into an eye for an eye really, really fast. And finally, there's identity. This is about convincing everyone to actually care about the team, to see themselves as part of the same group. Think about the European Union. The huge risk here, though, it can create a really powerful us versus them mentality.
All right, so now you've got the players, you understand the core problem, and you've seen the playbook. Now, let's actually give you the toolkit. I'm going to give you a framework you can use to break down any global event, any headline, just like a professional analyst.
Okay, this right here is what we call the 4 levels of analysis.
And honestly, the best way to think about it is like you're a filmmaker with 4 different lenses. You can get that super tight close-up, or you can pull way, way back for that epic wide shot. Let's walk through it using the 2003 Iraq War as our example. So first up, the individual level. This is our zoom lens, right? We're getting right up close and personal. We're asking, was this war really all about the choices, the personalities, maybe even the psychology of individual leaders like President Bush or Saddam Hussein? At this level, it's all about the people making the decisions.
Okay, now let's switch lenses and zoom out just a little bit to the domestic level. Here, we're looking inside the countries themselves. So it's not just about the leader anymore. It's about the political parties, the lobby groups, what the public is thinking, what the media is saying, all these internal forces that shape what a leader can and can't do.
All right, pulling the camera back even further, we get to the interstate level. Now we're looking at the whole chessboard, the power dynamics between countries. From this perspective, maybe the war happened simply because the US was the biggest player on the board, and no other country had the power to really stop them. It's all about the balance of power.
And for our last shot, the global level, we're pulling the camera all the way back. This is the epic, sweeping, wide-angle view. We're looking for these massive forces that kind of sweep across the whole planet, things that are bigger than any one country, like the global wave of fear about terrorism after 9/11, or huge technological shifts, or even big ideas about civilization itself.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The real magic of this toolkit isn't finding the one right answer. It's about understanding that each of these lenses shows you a different, crucial piece of the bigger picture. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you see a big global headline, try it. Look at it through all 4 of these lenses. Ask yourself those questions. What you discover? Well, it might just change how you see the world entirely.